Peace and love, y'all. It's your brother A.D.V.I.S.S, and we're here with episode 8 of What's the Word Wednesday season 2, y'all. So, as y'all come in, we are going to, of course, get things going and started. Put the topics and things in the comments, and we are going to also throw up the picture. But shout outs to those who are already in here. I see you. My brother Mutt was up in here. Prince King, what's going on? As well as the brother Sabu Smooth. How are y'all doing? What's the word? Shouts out to those who are here. All those going to be watching it later, as well as those who are watching on YouTube. But appreciate y'all for being here. And once again, what's the word, y'all? How y'all doing? With today's show, after I find the picture, I'm going to throw it up real quick. Not this one. Let's do a different one. But what we're going to end up doing for today's show, we're going to be getting into the topics which consist of current events. And then we're going to get into conformity and what that looks like and explain that more. And then lastly, we're going to talk about how numbers can lie. Because if you don't really think so, actually, numbers can. You just got to think about it. So, yeah. Yeah, no, I'm trying to figure it out. It looks a little different trying to do it. So, y'all let me know how it looks. Because I feel like I can't really see much on there. I used to be able to flip the pictures, but we'll go for it next episode. But as y'all coming in here, y'all let me know what's the word. How y'all doing? How y'all feeling? What's going on, Ace? What's going on? How you doing? Brother J Fuse in the building. You already know. What's the word, y'all? Let me know in the comments how y'all feeling. What's the word? Cause that's life. Cause that's life. Said the word is blasphemy. Interesting. Why blasphemy? Somebody been talking some nonsense that you're like, yo, that makes no sense? Y'all let me know. Or I should say, Jay, let me know. But with that, y'all, what we gonna do now, we gonna transition over into the show song, and we gonna get this thing on the road, y'all. Let's get it. And let me know if y'all can hear me and I sound good, you know. But this is how the show song goes. And once you learn it a bit, you can join in. It's like, what's the word, y'all? What's the word? What's the word, y'all? What's the word? What's the word, y'all? What's the word? What's the word? What's the word? What you heard? We gotta know, man. What's the word? Once again, y'all, it's your brother A.D.V.I.S.S, and we're here with episode 8 of What's the Word Wednesday, season 2. Shout out to y'all. I see you in here, JP, talk about my life's it's been a paradox. Everything contradicts. Brother, life is a contradiction in itself, as well as we are all walking contradictions. So I feel you there. But with that, y'all, for today's episode, we're going to be getting into, again, the topics. We're going to talk about these current events. So y'all don't throw some in and let me know what y'all been hearing and seeing currently, as well as we're going to get into the topic and talking about conformity. And wherever we're going to take it, we're going to take it. As well as how numbers can lie. We'll get into that even a little bit more, whether we say that they're always truthful or they can also tell little fibs. Shout out to Prince E and shout out to Malai. But other than that, y'all, let's get into these current events. Alright. So currently, while I see what's going on, shoot, what's the word? You crazy bird, man, shoot. This world is, my man, it definitely is. But a few things that actually caught my eye in the news, really more so what else has been going on, is we'll start off first again with a quick update of the whole George Floyd and Derek Chauvin trial that is going on right now. I believe it was in its 8th day of the trial, and what is going on with it basically is starting to pick at the whole idea of how we speak on the few bad apples within the police force. Go ahead, brother, go do what you gotta do. Take over the face of all those supposed, good cops and those in the police force. So now what this trial has brought to some people's attention, which we've seen a lot, is will those quote-unquote good cops keep the quote-unquote bad cops accountable for their actions? And will they call it out, or will just let it slide? So that's something that's brought up within there. I haven't got to look too much more deeper into the trial, but just know that yes, the Derek Chauvin trial is still going on. Yes, Ace, is still going on. So if you want to see more updates and look into what's going on, get to Google. I'm looking at NPR. They gave me a little rundown of it, but other than that, y'all, that's the first thing that's at least popped into my eyesight and view, was the trial is still going on right now. Second thing, which was, not gonna say it's more so of news, but in the whole aspect of what should be done. So more so of a question. So the next thing that caught my eye in the news was there's a article done by CBS, and it's a question of, should statues of Christopher Columbus come down? Peace of love, brother. How you doing, my G? Good to see you in here. RVY Powered Productions in the building, y'all. But the next thing I saw was talking about how should statues of Christopher Columbus come down. So through this whole article, this is a video, really, more so. It's not really an article, but within the video, it's just speaking on the history of where Christopher Columbus comes into play, as well as there is a representative from the Taino, if I'm saying it correct, tribe, which they quote-unquote call Indians, but Native American representative, saying what that statue represents to him, and then goes into how really that statue of Christopher Columbus was also a symbol for the Italian Americans that came to the U.S. and how there was this big situation that happened with them and the lynchings and stuff. So this was to show some in support to Italian Americans, the statue itself. Once again, don't quote me on this. This is all information you can look and find. But the whole idea and premise of the story is, should these statues of Christopher Columbus come down? And then that begs the bigger question. Should a lot of these statues of known figures throughout history that have been known to either have owned slaves, done some type of heinous act, be brought down in its whole context? So that's something I just want to throw out to y'all. It's not necessarily like what's going on, but more so of something you would like to know. So y'all, at your own discretion, if you think the statue should come down or not, it's up to y'all. Now, the second thing that I've seen, the third thing I should say, that was the second. Third thing I've seen in the news, once again, another headline of a college, I would say, yeah, a college ritual of joining a fraternity and the hazings that's done. Another college student has died from a hazing. And within this particular one, this was a college student who was a sophomore at Bowling Green, Ohio. His name was Stone Fultz, if I'm correct. But basically, long story short, what popped out to me when it came to this is, one, again, you see another kid or people that have been harmed or killed from a college hazing, or the whole ritual of being a part of a fraternity. And the thing is, they're ruling his death as a accidental death. So taking away all the accountability on those who were involved, saying that, oh, he accidentally drank and had this, and this is why that happened to him, knowing the rituals that were done that caused the harm. So with this, it just also, again, makes me want to beg a big question about how safe really, or should there be rituals within a lot of these fraternities and sororities that are very harmful and can cause death? Should they still be within these? Because if at the end of the day you're trying to join a fraternity or sorority to a point where it causes you health issues, aka you can lose your life over this just so you can be in the fraternity or sorority, that's something that needs to be taken into question, as well as the school needs to look into a more structured way. I don't know. Y'all let me know. What's going on? Big Sue in the building. What's the word? Just touching on an article about a college sophomore basically dying from a hazing from a fraternity, and they're ruling it as an accidental death, which just makes me beg the question about why there are such rituals within either fraternities and sororities, knowing how dangerous they can be. But y'all keep that in mind. At the end of the day, whatever it may be, I just wanted to bring that to you. Something else to know. Another student has died due to rituals within trying to join a fraternity. Alright, fourth thing. I want to bring attention to, and I'm gonna play a video for it too. But it's been in the news for a couple of days, and the brother's still here. Brother Sabi knows that I've been speaking on DMX for a long while, and really just getting in depth a lot more into his music and how really people sleep on DMX like that. And come to find out within the news that he is right now fighting for his life in a New York hospital right now. So gotta send out love, gotta send out good energy to them. But as of right now, we're still unsure of what else is going on. I'm gonna play a video clip, at least of the volume, just to give a whole synopsis of what's going on currently right now with his situation, and then we come back and talk about it. But before I do that, let me see y'all going in. So he says, I'm Sigma. I can't vouch for that though. I feel it, bro. I didn't specifically say which particular fraternity, but I was just using it in an overall sense. I'm not saying that all different fraternities and sororities have stuff like this, but for sure, just bringing that to the forefront, that there's those possibilities. I never understood the idea of hazing. I shouldn't say guess. That's just for me, it's something that shows your commitment to wanting to really be a part of a fraternity or part of this organization. But is it valid? Y'all be the ones to decide. Yes, he said, If you're on when I get back home, I'll come back. Oh yeah, handle it, bro. Do what you gotta do. Head out, do what you gotta do. DMX is a poet. Prayers up. Yes, we got to. Yes. I know about what goes on. Been through it. Exactly. See, so gotta just be aware. That's the main thing, is just bringing awareness to it. Not saying that it's a whole thing. Yeah. Just gotta be just aware of it. Let's see. But you're right. After the fact, I have to say that a lot of it is unnecessary. You know, it's to a certain point. Yes, you can still have the rules and have the certain commitments and things that you will want to do to show that they're willing to join into the fraternity or the sorority. But where's that line? Where is that last straw that says like, yo, this is how far you can take it? Because if you do, this is what can end up on top of that. I don't know if there's waivers that are signed, or if there's anything that you have to sign before that says that if you go through this whole process that such and such can happen. I don't know if people signing their life away, but y'all let me know, because I've never done this, so I don't have that perspective. So if y'all do, please let me know. But with that, I'm gonna play the clip to at least give us an update of what at least has been said about what's going on with DMX, and then we'll continue from there. But with that, let me play it. Let's get it ready. All right. And y'all let me know if you can hear it or not.
DMX's family is speaking out after the rapper suffered a heart attack and was admitted to a hospital in New York on Friday night. In a statement obtained by People, the family says that DMX, who was born Earl Simmons, is facing serious health issues. The family asks that fans, quote, keep Earl/DMX and us in your thoughts, wishes, and prayers, as well as respect our privacy as we face these challenges. On Monday, the Rough Riders to the Rescue Foundation will be holding a prayer vigil outside of the White Plains Hospital. According to a family email to the Associated Press, the vigil is scheduled for 5 p.m. Eastern Time. On Sunday, DMX's manager, Nakia Walker, told the New York Times that the rapper is in a vegetative state. Walker shared that they were just praying and that some of DMX's family members have been allowed to visit him in the hospital. Walker also told BuzzFeed that DMX has lung and brain failure and no brain activity. According to NBC News, the rapper's attorney, Murray Richmond, previously confirmed that DMX was admitted to the intensive care unit after suffering a heart attack. NBC News also reported that the rapper had to be resuscitated and put on life support. Richmond reportedly did not know what caused the heart attack. He was unable to confirm a report from TMZ about the rapper suffering an alleged drug overdose. In the past, DMX has been open about his struggle with drug addiction. In 2017 and 2019, he had spent time in a rehab facility. There has been an outpouring of support for the rapper from friends, including Eminem, Rick Ross, and Eric B., while fans have been showing up outside of the hospital to wish the rapper well.
So yeah, y'all, when it comes to the update with DMX right now, all we know is that he's still fighting for his life. The initial situation is that he had a massive heart attack, or I shouldn't say massive, but suffered from the heart attack. They talk about his history of taking drugs, and right now they're saying that he's on life support. Other reports have said that he was doing much better and doing fairly better, but we'll just continue like everybody's saying, prayers up, much energy and love being sent out to the family as well as to DMX, because that man is a legend, at least in my book for sure. As well as this dude has so many great songs that are insightful, as well, of course, the other side. He gets to show you both the light and the dark, the in and the out, the cat, the dog, the mouse, the rat, all of that, So, much love, much respect to DMX, and we sending those energies and vibes out to you and the family. All right. And the last thing, Slippin' is a classic. Yes, Slippin', as well as Who We Be. So Who We Be is also, I love Who We Be. Like, it was on Street Hoops for Xbox. I don't know if y'all know that basketball game, Street Hoops, but that was one of the tracks that was just on there, and it always got to me, man. And it's very simple. It's a very simple track, but just the passion in his voice and how he spits it is just, yo, it's sick as heck. I love it. So once again, much love. Send out that to DMX and to the family. What's going on, the brother MC0 in the building? What's the word, G? Alright, and lastly, before we get to the last of these topics, last thing, update on pandemic and the shots. As of almost 4 hours ago, all 50 states commit to Biden's April 19th deadline to make COVID shots available to all U.S. adults. So they're pushing to the point before it was May 1st where they were targeting everybody would, at least adults, would have the availability to take the shot. Now they're pushing it up to April 19th. So just giving y'all a heads up, that is what's going on right now. Some people have already, I've known of mine who are friends that are adults, have already gotten it. So y'all use the discernment to know, but after, at least up to April 19th, they're saying that, yo, this is available for all adults. Boom. So all up to you. Do what you gotta do. But other than that, y'all, that's all that I have for news. If y'all have any other news reports or anything that's been going on around you and what's the word, please throw it in the comments. If not, we will move on to the next topic, which this topic, we're going to speak on conformity. So when I'm talking about conformity, or when you hear the word conformity, y'all type in the chat, y'all let me know, what are the first things that come to mind when you think of conformity? So let's see. It said, bro, what's the word with the correlation between vaccination and conformity? We gonna take it there. We gonna do what we need to do with it. But I love that. I love that. And we're gonna speak on it. So we got another one in here. We have slavery. Interesting. Anybody else in here? What do we got? When you think of the word conformity, what comes to mind? What's going on? We have another legendary guest in the building. Latter-day poet. What's going on, fam? Are we just speaking on right now? When you hear the word conformity, what do you think of? And we got from Big Sue, surrender. So we got thinking of a correlation between the vaccinations and conformity, which we can get into. We got the word slavery, as well as we have the word surrender. Look at these S's going on right now. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to say mine, and then after that, I'm going to give the definition so we can have an idea of what is being said, the definition in this particular case is. So when I think of conformity, I think of, first thing I think of is peer pressure. I also think of being controlled in a way. So the idea of slavery a little bit as well when I think of conformity. Because when you conform to something, you fall in line with what is there. Because the word conform. Okay, I guess it gave me something. But when you get that whole idea of conform, you're being formed into some different either attitudes or beliefs or behaviors that is seen within society. You may have an opposite perspective and view on that, but because of that, of you wanting to be a part of the peer pressure and other different things that come with it, you become a part of it and you conform. That's just a little small piece on there. Let me give y'all at least, it says the Webster's dictionary definition. So Webster says conformity is correspondence in form, manner, or character agreement, behaved in conformity with beliefs, an act or instance of conforming with the latest fashions. And then another one, action in accordance with some specific standard or authority, conforming to social customs with the federal law and state insurance codes. So in all short, keywords is in accordance with a certain manner, certain beliefs, latest fashions, federal laws and insurance codes. So basically different societal norms that has been set. So some synonyms, they got accord, accordance, agreement, conformance, congruence, congruency, consonance, harmony, and tune. Interesting. But with that, if any of y'all also want to get on here and speak on conformity, you're more than welcome to. Just hit the button, jump on with me, and we can go back and forth with it. Because as much as I love to be speaking to the cam and speaking to my phone, I would love to speak with you, at least on live. But if not, I'll keep going in as y'all keep on supporting and putting in your comments. I appreciate it. So, when we speak on conformity, where do people mostly conform? Where do mostly people conform within their life? Political beliefs. Some people can conform into those political beliefs. Oh, before I continue, you said, notice how conformity is considered being in tune. Y'all know me when it comes to words and seeing phrases. You know how tricky the English language is. So you always got to make sure to be able to see and read between the lines, because there's many loopholes and ways things can be flipped and the narratives can shift and change. So you got to be careful with the words and things that you say. Just saying. But that's a great note. I'm glad that you picked that up, Sue. Thank you for adding that. Now, places where people conform. One of the main ones for me people conform to, especially when they grow up in their household, is religion. It's one of the main things. That's the thing that is ingrained into you and put into you as a child, whether you wanted it or not. But if you don't, you feel that sense of pressure from your family and those around you who identify within whatever religion you're in. And if you don't, you're not in tune, or you are not according to what the group norm is. Not saying that religion is a terrible thing, but with everything, there is always a two-sided fold of how it can influence and affect. And there's multiple sides that it can affect. That's one that I think of when it comes to where conformity is put, is definitely within religion from the beginnings. Let's see. The movie They Live, watch it. I've already watched it, bro. Watched that thing like 3-4 times, man. That movie is so eye-opening for its time. And I know there's more movies that's in the same thing, but yes, if y'all have not seen the movie They Live, go watch They Live, and you will literally see that this is one of those parts within the whole thing in society that it shows in the movie. I'm not going to spoil anything else if you haven't seen it. It is an older movie, so it's not going to have all these hi-fi special effects and things, but the message is there. But yeah, let's see. I was just about to mention religion. Yes. So, y'all give me some more. What are some other places people conform? Or they conform themselves into a particular place? So I was saying, religion is being one. I'll say two earlier was politics. And having specific political affiliations. Because of the fact that, That one for sure. Y'all have to see the whole election. Come on, Democrats, Republicans, left wing, right wing, liberal, conservative. Literally, that's one of the between religion and politics. Those are the two things that society has said, quote unquote, those are things you are not supposed to discuss at the dinner table, or so on and so forth, because of the fact of they know how polarizing it is. And when you're not on a particular side and you are pushed into it, and you're pushed into it because you want to have that sense of belonging and acceptance within a group. But I think of that as well too. I think of conformity in the sense of conforming to not only religious but a political affiliation. Big Sue said school. Yes, I agree with school as well too, because within school, what's going on, Kundin? Good to see you. Within school, there is also different codes and behaviors and attitudes that are put within there for you have to abide and follow. And if you don't, you're outed. Most of the time when that happens, you're outed, in the kid who does that, they're seen as the bad kid, or they push to be that bad apple that is seen and pushed
Oh, I
within
gotta put
the
on my
school.
headphones.
So it ends up happening in that particular case. What's going on, Kundin? How you doing, man? What's the word?
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
What's going on? How you doing? What's the word?
The word, I just finished another book club meeting. I'm not running that one though, so that's a good thing. Uh,
Yeah.
it's nice to it's nice to just receive and relax too, you know. Yeah.
Yes. So you let me know, Kundin. Right now, we're speaking on the topic of conformity right now, and
Mm,
I was giving a few places where people are pushed to be conformed, and one of the
mm,
ones that I put out there was religion. Another one I put out there was political affiliation. So basically, all these different
mm,
parties. And what I was finished speaking on right now was in school, and
mm,
how those rules and regulations and behaviors that are seen in school that are the norms, when kids, students, teachers, etc., fall out of those lines, they're labeled. For kids, they're labeled, oh, that's a bad apple, bad student,
mm,
kicked out of class, so he gets that reputation or she gets that reputation. With the teacher, is, oh, that's a crazy teacher, oh, that's the teacher who does this, and that, because of the fact that they're not
mm,
following in line of what is the norm in the group, which is the school or the community,
mm,
and they're outed. So I
mm,
don't know if you have any you want to share, but you tell me how you feel about conformity.
mm. Yeah, those are good examples. You know, those is I think the the irony is conformity is when both individualism, I mean the individual and the community are actually rejected. You
Hmm.
know, and it's about neither. It seems to be about community, but it's actually about neither. Like it's about control by
Mm.
a very small group of people against a bigger group of people,
Yes.
right? Uh, like it blew my mind one time when I read somewhere that basically you only need a dozen dogs to shepherd 5,000 sheep.
Mm.
That's it. Like,
That is very true. When you think about that, I mean, usually have I forgot the type of breed of the dog is, but that's basically the whole setup too. So it almost goes back to, if you were to think of conformity in an image, and especially in an animal image, what
Mm-hmm.
would you put it into?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a sheep.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that of that, like you said, of that herding and having that small group or whatever percentage of that group that's on the outside of there being able to herd the larger main part of that group, because those
Mm-hmm.
have the rules, the setups, the behaviors, and all that is there. And the
Mm-hmm.
underlining thing that I say within at least conformity that people subscribe to it is the idea of belongingness and
Mm-hmm.
wanting to belong, even if it goes against or they're not in line with the behaviors, the attitudes, the thoughts, and the beliefs that are there. But
Mm-hmm.
they rather feel like they belong and they're a part and they're there in the group versus feeling like the outsider and alone.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that connectiveness as us as humans and as a species of being tribal and being together. It's
Mm-hmm.
hard to be a lone wolf, quote unquote. Even wolves have packs, and
Mm-hmm.
all animals have different groups of that stuff. Um, but yeah, when I thought of that, it just
Yeah.
gave me an idea of just of the sheep.
Yeah. It's and a lot of it is also, you gave good examples like religion, politics, etc. But the overarching thing above all that is narrative, it's stories,
Mm,
storytelling. Story is how it's used to control, and the story can take in the form of a political story, a religious story, a social story. But because we're so deeply wired for story, uh, and story is what arises from story if we like, activate our imagination as well. We're very unique in that. I think
mm,
what differentiates us from other animals is that we can imagine. We have imagination, you know, that and our imagination is activated by stories, and so the biggest story is the false binary, like you said, that the black and white thinking is like the number one story used to control us. Like it's like, and ultimately, so we have the good evil binary, the demonization, perfection binary, right?
mm-hmm.
But the ultimate binary is, like you said, the in and out binary, right?
Yeah,
Either are you in or are you out, right?
yeah,
Are you in the in group or the out group?
exactly. I appreciate that, man. I do appreciate the perspective of the overarching idea of the narrative and the story, because that's how you usually draw people in as well too, is
Mm-hmm.
starting with the narrative and the story of whether this is the thing to do or this is the thing not to do. And
Mm-hmm.
if you have not taken the time to do the research as well as to see how you feel and respond to the particular narrative and story, you you begin to have little
Mm-hmm.
to no choices of whether you're going to join it or you're going to be out of it, because of the fact
Right,
that
yeah. And depending on the
this
story,
story that's being
each
told is for
person is
everybody.
like
Yes.
is labeled a different person. Like in my country, right? Right now we're in the middle of a military coup, right?
Yes.
But there has been these armed ethnic groups, or actually they're actually indigenous people. Calling them even ethnic groups is another label that kind of dilutes who they are. But they've been fighting on an armed struggle against the Tamador, this military dictatorship for 7 decades, right? But the
Mm,
Tamador, they call them rebels, whereas they see themselves as freedom fighters, right? They're called
mm,
rebels. And whereas the Tamador, they call themselves basically saviors or protectors of the people, right?
yes.
So depending on the narrative, we call ourselves a certain label, and we call
Yes.
the enemy group, the out group, a different label. Is That's how it's done too, you know?
Yes. I'm glad you brought that up too, because that was something I was just about to say too, just from the way you was giving the examples. I was just about to speak on now. See how conformity creates these different labels and these different boxes and you
Mm-hmm.
know characters of different people. So that's why we have a rebel. we have a terrorist, we have this, and that. It's because of the fact
Mm-hmm.
that they're either in the in group or they're in the out group. And that's where we start to begin to just section ourselves off within society and all of these different groups in these different places. And if you're not a part of the group and you're not in there, then I mean, then you're in the other side of the group. So either you're with the saviors or you're with those who are ordained to be lost forever. And there's no in between. There's like, is you either this or that? Shout out to Black Sheep. You can get with this or you can get with that. And that leaves a lot of people in the middle because of the fact that for the purpose too of getting a well-rounded perspective on things, you look at both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And then you might end up creating a whole different side. But since it doesn't fall, like you said, in the lines of these, these binaries and these dichotomies that have been brought up into society, you have a large amount of people who don't necessarily either lean to both sides, but they're going to have to pick and choose due to the fact of that extra push that's being
Mm-hmm.
done. There's no, oh, you cannot. Because then if that's the case, then that group that doesn't necessarily have or decided to be in either or, they're actually getting targeted by both if
Mm-hmm.
that's the case. So it's like, oh, you're not with us and you're not against us. Then wait, what are you then? Okay, then we're just going to just say, nah, you are.
Mm-hmm.
Now you are part of the problem too. They're the problem. Now you're also the problem. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, there are some you can say. You say I'm about to bounce. Well, peace and love, brother, man. You already know me. You gonna catch it later. We gonna catch you. I got you, brother. Brother Sabu. But what ends up happening with that, you end up losing that sense of not saying that you have to not tolerating people, but that sense of really understanding that you can agree to disagree and have the civil discussions between people and have a mutual understanding of how things can be done, because everybody's going to differ on opinions and differ on different perspectives. So you have to be mindful of that, and you have to be okay with the fact that, yo, I'm not going to have the same ideas and perspective as you, but I'm not going to point at you and say it's all your fault because you're doing this, and it's my fault because I didn't believe and do what you're doing. You start to just once again put people in those boxes, and you do not look at the other person as just another person trying to figure this life out. But I could be seeing it, in a naive perspective and not really looking at all of the points. But that's not the main thing when it comes to bringing these topics up. It's really to just get the
Yeah.
gears and get the thought going. So y'all, at the end of the day, can add your points and everything into the whole thing about conformity or anything. But in short, and I'm gonna pass it back to you, Kunden, if you got any more. But in short, when it comes to conformity, we see it mainly as a tool used either for control or to demonize or to put down
Mm-hmm.
another group and pit people between each other. Conformity
Mm-hmm.
could be seen in a nicer light if the purpose is being used to trigger thought,
Mm-hmm.
not to push people and to push them into a particular point, but to get you to really think, okay, why would I really want to conform and be in this group?
Mm-hmm.
And to have that as the push on, if it's like either you want to join us or not, it's okay, man, if you want, but if you were to join us, why would you want to join us? To give basically that option. But for the most part, just be careful of what you're watching, you're hearing with all of your senses. And when you're thinking about joining something or being a part of something, always make sure what are the true intentions behind all of that. Is that going to create a rift with somebody else? There's so much things to think about. But that's all I got
Mm-hmm.
for conformity. What you
Yeah, I
got?
think it's good. You make me think about how like when we play a game or when we play sports,
Harsh
there is
truth,
a
brother.
certain
Yep.
level of conformity because we have certain rules that we play by. But then there's also an
Yes.
understanding that it's only temporary, that there's going to be a timeline of when it
Yes.
ends, right?
Mm,
So I think that's the difference. If it never ends, then it's conformity. But if there's a clear
mm,
uh, deadline or a timeline of, okay, we're only going to do this during this time for a specific purpose, or even if it's just playing a game or maybe just playing with a perspective, uh, then it's good. Then it's just stretching yourself, or connecting with people.
yes. There it is. Appreciate that, Kunin. Thank you. Now, y'all,
Hmm.
if y'all have any more on conformity, throw them in the comments. Shouts out to
Hmm.
the brother Kundin in here. If y'all want some more word and some more knowledge as well as joining different groups and getting things, please follow this man's page as well as if you got any info, anything from him, he'll have all his other different things on his page, whether it's Venmo, anything else. But this is
Yeah.
a great brother right here, y'all. Um, now
Yep. Yep.
with that, next part and the last topic for tonight, where people still can put their own questions in. But the last topic for tonight is how numbers can lie. And I know it's
Mm-hmm.
like, yo, that can be a bold statement. What do you mean numbers can lie? We have
Mm-hmm.
statistics, and usually all of the statistics are correct. They can do how you cannot question the numbers and data. Well, look it. That's why I put the word can.
Mm-hmm.
Read between the lines. There's ways and forming of how you use the words to come up with what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just doing the person voice of someone who's a detractor. But when it comes to how numbers can lie, you can basically come up. This is where it can come from the personal. You can come up with a personal statistic that hasn't necessarily been tried, observed, and written down how many times you've done it, but you can tell people that, yo, about 85% of the time I do my homework.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I mean, we'll take your word for it, but I mean, are you literally going and writing down every day that you are doing your homework and when you're not doing your homework, and then you sum it up at the end of the semester or the year and be like, yo, my
Mm-hmm.
percentage now that of me of doing my homework is actually 88%. But that is where being able to play
Mm-hmm.
with it and it's more subjective with the numbers, that's where things can start to lie. As well as
Mm-hmm.
there's a such thing as outliers.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't even fit into a statistic. And what it does, it ends up messing up the whole frame of it. So they end up taking
Mm-hmm.
that out. So when you take something out, you're also ruling out all the other different points that would add into the statistics. So are you truthfully giving all that you can to whatever
Mm-hmm.
point that you're trying to drive across when it comes to the amount of people who are homeless versus those who have homes, but you have the outliers of those who experience homelessness only maybe one or two times throughout their lifetime, and they've had a home but didn't have a home, but those are outliers, so we can't add that in the data. So it starts to
Mm-hmm.
become a whole idea of how numbers and statistics can be used to only
Yeah.
it can be used in a point where it takes out a lot of the facts and only speaks to one narrative.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you want to say something on that, Kunja, and I'll continue on after that. But do you have
Yeah, there
anything
is a
on it?
whole book. You said Outliers. There's a whole book called Outliers by Malcolm
Yes.
Gladwell. So, um, but yeah, I was thinking specifically related to statistics. There's one of my favorite analogies is of how statistics can lie. Is supposing you have one leg in a bucket of boiling hot water,
Yeah.
and the other leg in a bucket of ice cold water, right?
Yeah.
Now, on average, it's room temperature, you're fine. But one leg is burning and the other leg is freezing, right? So
Mm.
that's, to me, that's a perfect example of how like stats can be manipulated.
I love that example too. The visual of it as well. And
Yeah.
yeah, the reason why I wanted to bring that up too is especially nowadays how numbers are used not only within the schools or within the media, but also used in different businesses and organizations to either, especially I'm gonna say, for example, nonprofits. And for certain nonprofits, they have to hit a particular percentage of efficiency when it comes to whatever particular issue that they're targeting, that their whole organization is about, to
Mm-hmm.
especially keep their funding from different donors. Because when it comes to being in a nonprofit, there's a certain percentage of that you have the organization has to come up with the money, as well as the other percent that comes from other forces outside that you do grant writing for. So what that particularly also shows too is if there is an internal statistics and numbers that are done and ran, and it has come to be found that they didn't hit their particular percentage that they needed to continue having funding,
Mm-hmm.
that's where the whole ethics and morals come into play with the numbers. And I'm not saying, okay, this is what all nonprofits and people are doing. Some folks actually in other businesses actually hire outside folks to come in and do the statistic analysis for them so that that won't be the case. But when you have people who have those intentions because of the fact that this is going to lose and cost them money, you have to be mindful that technically, if we really want to rephrase this whole thing, the numbers
Mm-hmm.
don't technically lie, but the people who do the numbers make the numbers end up lying.
Yeah, they tell a story about it. They tell the story they want to tell.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do have certain numbers and you don't have your numbers completely correct, it can have an ultimate negative impact on whatever you're thinking about. For me,
Mm-hmm.
and also a big
Yeah.
misunderstanding. So for me, one of the big misunderstandings that people were getting, especially during this time, and I haven't got to check up on it too, is the difference when we talk about the pandemic. The difference between the number of cases versus the number of deaths,
Mm-hmm.
and how people interpret it and change it based off of those numbers, and either they mix them together or they misinterpret the others for others. So when they go out and run and tell people that this is the number and percentage of those who died, you come to find out actually that's a whole wrong statistic. That's actually either the number of cases in this particular state, in this particular part of the world, but you ran with it because whatever your intention and narrative was, you wanted to push it among to the people, cause a chain reaction of those to be misinformed. And with that same whole misinformation, it continues the
Mm-hmm.
cycle, and then it creates this whole thing about this is a bigger issue than we thought. Not saying that this whole situation is a big issue, but using
Mm-hmm.
it to fearmonger people. And that's what
Mm-hmm.
I get to when it comes to numbers. People can do that to put people into a state of fear, as well as to put people in a state of uncertainty. And if you
Mm-hmm.
don't have a follow up and a backup from showing the numbers and the statistics and letting people know that this is the other side and ops that we can use to combat this versus just throwing it out there and leaving it out there, you start to also create a sense of hopelessness. So when it comes to using the numbers and knowing that these numbers can lie, we have to be mindful of where their source is coming from, who is speaking on it, and how and what programs are they using to do their statistics. Are they doing this just freehand? Are they using outside organizations to find this? Are they got credible people, quote unquote, credible people and experts in the field to have these statistics and numbers analyzed and brought out correctly?
Yeah, like a great example, another good example of like numbers lying is size, right?
Mm,
So we've all heard of the story of David and Goliath, and that's often used to basically tell the story of the underdog or the little guy defeating the big guy, right?
mm-hmm,
David, this little guy, shot a sling into the forehead of this big giant, and then the giant fell down, right? That everybody was scared of this giant. But Malcolm Gladwell, who wrote the book Outliers, also wrote a different book later retelling the story of David and Goliath and said, what if? What if Goliath was the weaker one, actually? What if he suffered from gigantism?
mm. Ah, he's circling Kundin, and he was on such a great point. Let me see. We're going to get him. Uh, you back in here?
I'm back, huh? I'm back now?
I think so, yes. Yeah,
Am I
yes,
back
yes,
now?
yes.
Okay. So what
All
did you
right,
last
finish. Yeah,
heard?
please
You
let me, yeah,
heard
go
me.
back.
Yeah, I was
I
saying,
heard you
so Malcolm
talk
Glad,
about the giganticism that he could suffer
right.
from.
So yeah, Goliath, what if Goliath actually had gigantism, which is a hormone disorder that makes you have excessive growth, but the body
Mm,
has to pay a price for it, which means you suffer from insomnia, you have your body's actually weak, you're kind of semi-blind, and so that's why the giant couldn't see the stone coming at him, and he
mm,
fell down with just one shot because he was sleepy and tired and he was actually weak. So in reality, in that situation, David was the stronger one.
mm. Dang, that's a great. And you said that was also by Malcolm
That
Gladwell.
was also by Malcolm Gladwell. Yeah, I think it's called David and Goliath. Yeah.
Basically, y'all, and I'm seeing that the time's wrapping up. We're gonna put it into a wrap. But when it comes to if numbers can lie, and I'm gonna go through everything again, but if numbers how numbers can lie is really dependent on the perspective and the attentions of whoever's gathering the numbers and how they're using it. Because if we only look at it from the one fact and we don't have not only just the opposite fact, but multiple different perspectives of where these numbers are coming from, how can we really test and see how valid they are? So just be mindful of what information comes your way and how you use it and interpret it. Because at the end of the day, you could be adding to those numbers, or you can be adding to the whole statistic. But with us wrapping
Hmm.
up, I appreciate y'all coming. Thank you for being here. Just know about current events, knowing, always just stay in mind of what's going on around you. Conformity at the end of the day, just be mindful of who, what, and where you're around and what necessarily that conforming means when it comes to being part of a group or somewhere else. And lastly, yes, numbers can lie, but be mindful of those people who are telling you about the numbers because it could be the people behind the numbers telling you to lie. Other than that, I've been your brother A.D.V.I.S. This has been the
Hmm.
brother Kundin, and we will catch you next time. I see you here, West Coast Ninja. Man, we wrapping up. But other than that, y'all, this has been another episode of What's the Word Wednesday, Season 2, Episode 8. I've been your brother A.D.V.I.S. See
All
y'all next
right.
time. Peace and
See
one
you
love.
all. Peace and love.